SMR Podcast Network. You should be listening. What's going on, everybody? RWT family, SMR Podcast listeners, to the TSK fam out there, too sweet and your boy. Welcome to another edition of Retro Rewind as we bring you retro pay-per-views. WCW's Halloween Havoc 1996, October 27th, 1996 to be exact, from Las Vegas, Nevada. So there's a lot I've written on this show as it is a pay-per-view, so let's not waste no time. Let's get into it, but very quickly, make sure you've hit that follow button, that subscribe button, and share this to all of your wrestling friends out there, because we are reliving the Attitude Era, and you know you loved the Attitude Era, so come along for the ride as we enjoy this retro pay-per-view. Also, like I had stated at the end of episode 1 of 2 for this lovely Monday, episode 58, which is actually supposed to be 59 for Retro Rewind, by the way, which you're going to only hear about that from this. I was going to put a little snip in there. Don't want to do it. It's meant to be episode 59, regardless of the fact. But what I am trying to pitch here is a promising third episode on just this week of Retro Rewind. So, if we can get both a combined number of listens to 50, if either this one gets 50, the other one gets 50, or total combined number, we get to 50 before 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, then I will drop, if we hit that number, I will drop a third episode of Retro Rewind, episode 60 of Retro Rewind, which is going to be the fallout from Halloween Havoc. So that would be from October 28th. Okay, October 28th, 1996. So remember, let's get on that. 50 is the overall goal, and we'll get into it. Speaking of getting into it, let's get into this pay-per-view. The opening video package is just basically reliving the build of the NWO. Bischoff saying that it was the worst decision he ever made, bringing Hulk Hogan into WCW. And then, of course, we introduced by the commentary team, which is Dusty Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Rhodes thinks tonight the WCW will make a comeback. Heenan thinks after tonight Savage will be no more because the NWO is going to take the only thing he has left, and that's his dignity. So we start out with a fucking banger. WCW Cruiserweight Championship match, Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko. I know, way to just put an emphasis on it, but seriously. As Mysterio heads to the ring, Heenan says that Malenko was so focused in that he told the bellhop that he didn't need help carrying his badge. Malenko jumped in his face before the bell could ring, and that's just how the match starts. Tenay joins the commentary team, making it 4-mans, as he is the insider for their crew. Tenay explains what the mask means to Lucha Libre, and Malenko goes for the cloverleaf early, but Mysterio gets out and goes on the advantage, hitting a crazy spinning head scissor takedown, sending Malenko to the outside, fakes a 619, then hits a senton, retrieves his mask, and decides he's going to put on that old mask while taking off the other one and somehow not show his goddamn face. It worked. Mysterio tries to go for another head scissors takedown, but it's reversed by Malenko as he shuts it down, slamming Mysterio to the mat. After throwing Mysterio legs first into the ropes, he focuses on the knee, applying a single-leg Boston Crab, then incorporates a knuckle lock because, well, he's the man of 1,000 holds. And oh my god, top rope Saito suplex. Mysterio has to be dead. Somehow he's not. They're trading near falls. Malenko takes Mysterio back down to the mat and stretches his back, hits a big tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Mysterio crawls out of the ring, but Malenko brings him back in and applies a sleeper hold, then adds the body scissors for depth.
Siesta time, amigo.
Yes, they did the 3-arm spot where the ref sees that Mysterio's arm will drop 3 times. It doesn't. He pops up on the third one, and Malenko tries to take him back down with another sleeper. Mysterio then makes a comeback, but eats a big running knee, so it gets shut down immediately, and they're right into an arm lock suplex. Schiavone is starting to get curious about Nick Patrick, and Dusty says that he saw Heenan in the back looking for Patrick. Schiavone asks why. Then Heenan turns into a bumbling idiot.
The head. Well, you didn't let me give a chance to answer.
Sure.
I want to see the condition of the man's esophagus. There you go.
I swear he says the man's esophagus. I don't know. I don't want to, put words into his mouth. But it is what it is. It's awfully hilarious. So they're battling on top of the turnbuckle. They both go crashing to the floor. Malenko is somehow the first to get up. Mysterio is the first to attempt some offense. He tries to move off the rail, but he slips. Mysterio tries for a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, but Malenko tries for that backbreaker. Mysterio changes direction, hits a poison rana, or goes for a poison rana. Malenko reverses it. They have a flurry of near falls. Heenan counted every single one of them.
There was 806 moves right there in that segment.
Then there's a corkscrew moonsault. Malenko and Mysterio outside. Mysterio goes for his lovely finisher, the Hurricane Rana, into the pin, but he lands like right on top of his head, or just barely misses the fact that he lands right on top of his head, and I'm like, thank God. Mysterio gets on the apron, calls for it again. Malenko sees it coming, catches him in midair, hits a big sit-out powerbomb. They're back on the turnbuckle. Mysterio wants the top rope Hurricane Rana. Malenko fights it off, and that's when Mysterio, being super fast as fuck, gets back onto the turnbuckle in a mere second. Malenko, however, is so ready for him. He grabs him, hits a beautiful gut-wrench powerbomb off the second rope for the win. I gave it 4.5. I said these guys absolutely never disappoint. Malenko is powerful yet technical, and he's great in that aspect as a cruiserweight. While Mysterio is an up-and-coming, flashy luchador. Their styles work beautifully together. This was no exception. It did slow down for a bit, but ending was super hot, and I loved it. One hell of a way to open the show. Lee Marshall is in the back with Jeff Jarrett. Double J comes out, and he has a few words for the NWO. You don't impress me. I don't care about your monster trucks, and you haven't done anything inside or outside this ring, and I'll tell you this, you won't choke slam me, big boy. Ric Flair comes in and says that there is he orchestrated the meet and greet for all the women who are going to be lining up for Double J after he wins tonight, and says tonight that Macho Man, you will style and profile because you're going to take it to Hogan all night long. Then we get a Battle of the Ring match. It's basically just a regular one-on-one, but it's for the Lord of the Ring. Diamond Dallas Page versus Eddie Guerrero. And so DDP's Lord of the Ring is, of course, on the line, like I just stated. As DDP gets in the ring, I noticed dumb shit Nick Patrick is still wearing a neck brace. DDP spits in Eddie's face and then tries to hide between the ropes, but he can't hide because, well, the bell rang. So the quick story behind this is DDP won the ring forever ago. He and Eddie had a feud at one point that ended up getting Chavo involved due to chicanery. Then Eddie ended up winning the ring at a pay-per-view, and then DDP ended up stealing it, and now this is where we're at, and they're wrestling for it. DDP had the advantage to start out. Eddie goes for the drop kick, gets laid out on the ropes. Eddie fakes out DDP instead of going for the splash on the barricade. He ends up behind him, chops him, sends him into the barricade, where a fan is ready to dump popcorn all over him. DDP uses his power and lifts Eddie up, crotches him on the ropes. They end up on the outside. DDP throws Eddie into the railing and then back into the ring. Goes for the pin, puts his feet on the ropes, and Nick Patrick chews him out for it. There's a gut wrench, gut buster, followed up by a tilt-a-war slam for a near fall. That's when DDP shoves Nick Patrick, and Nick Patrick fires up and shoves him back. That allows Eddie to get a near fall. That's when DDP fires up, and Nick Patrick is screaming at him, and they do the spot where they trade near falls in a constant manner. DDP is all of a sudden trying to be a luchador or something. He gets so blown up doing this, he can only hit one big move, and it's a clothesline. He walks around the ring just catching his breath. Then he hits Eddie hits a big European uppercut that sends DDP flying through the air. It's totally awesome. Eddie climbs the turnbuckle, hits a top rope crossbody on DDP onto the floor. DDP hits a flapjack, kind of like a Styles Clash for a near fall. Hits a sit-out powerbomb for another near fall. And DDP screams in frustration, yells at some fan that his mother is nothing, and then he hits the diamond cutter, and that's it. 2 3/4. Good story. Nick Patrick somehow was not a factor in this one. A little shocking. Kind of great at the same time. Eddie did all he could, but the experience and the power difference was just too much for him. I will admit I am not a fan of how it ended. DDP just set up Eddie and hit the move. The announcer sold it like he would have kicked out of it, but he ended up not. Wonder what's next for Eddie and DDP, if there is anything next for Eddie and DDP. Mike Tenay is in the back, and he and Macho Man are there, and they're going to announce the winner of the Slim Jim Monster Truck. First, Savage says how he's going to take the world title from Hogan, and then he's going to ask the winner of the Monster Truck to please do him a favor, and he legitimately asks the fan to commit vehicular homicide for the sake of WCW.
Slim Jim's monster truck. I just want him or her to just do me one favor and run over that body just one time. Yeah.
Savage then snaps into this pre-cut giant Slim Jim and picks a winner, and then lets Joanne, the winner, know that if she takes him on a date, that in their cool new really cool monster truck, then he'll be ready. They go on to plug the website and let everyone know that you can stream the audio of this show via said website. Dean Malenko backstage interview with Mike Tenay, and Malenko says first things first, he wasn't going to leave Vegas without the belt, and well, no, mission accomplished. He tells the world, anyone that wants a shot, grab a ticket, because this thing isn't going anywhere. By thing, he means the Cruiserweight title. All of a sudden, we see Ted DiBiase and the Giant. DiBiase says that Jarrett is a total fool because you think it's a privilege to take the place of the most dominant force to take the place against the most dominant force in professional wrestling. Even Ric Flair isn't fool enough to step in the ring with the Giant. DiBiase says that, or he brings up, I should say, that you told the NWO to stick it. The Giant says that that's funny because he's going to stick you to the wall, to the floor, and to the ceiling. I'm going to choke slam you in the middle, and everyone is going to the glue factory. That's when we get this match. WCW United States Heavyweight Championship match. Jeff Jarrett versus the champion, the Giant. The announcers remind everyone that Giant did not win the belt in the ring. He's just carrying it around because the NWO beat up Ric Flair and took it. Nick Patrick is the ref for this one, and I can already smell the bullshit. Jarrett points to the entranceway, and out comes Ric Flair for Jeff Jarrett because, he says that he's going to be, at ringside. Dusty praises Flair from commentary, saying that he's the king of the dirty deeds. Heenan literally rewords everything Dusty just says, and then Dusty calls him out for it.
Like him or not, if you wanted somebody in your corner, if you wanted somebody there to give you some advice in the heat of battle, Nature Boy Ric Flair is the man that can surely do it. The master of the dirty deeds, still the dirtiest player in the game.
Well, if I had to have somebody in my corner besides me, it would be Ric Flair. Man knows every way in and out of a championship match. He knows his way around that ring.
I just said that. I just ran through that. Where were you at? I just ran through that.
Yes, but I'm doing it in English.
Gotta love their banter. It goes back and forth, and it's pretty good. Anyway, back to the match. So Jarrett dodges. He's dodging the Giant. Taunts the Giant. It's just pissing him off. Flair adds to it by getting closer to the ring and wooing in the face of the Giant.
Get up, Jeff Jarrett, and kick his NWO ass now!
And Jarrett thinks the headlock is going to work on this big fucker. It obviously does not. The Giant sends him flying. Giant yanks Jarrett out of the corner, throwing him across the ring. Jarrett goes for a desperate sleeper attempt. That's when Giant fights it off, but can't. He begins to fade. Before he does, Jarrett slams him into the corner, gets slammed into the corner, misses the splash. Jarrett capitalizes with a flurry of punches, goes for a big right hand, obviously does not face the Giant, and that's when he lands a big boot right to the face. Flair tries to slide a chair into the ring, but then decides against it. The Giant takes advantage of Nick Patrick yelling at Flair as he hit a headbutt to the nuts and makes Jarrett pop up to his feet, crawl around the ring, and then take a bump. The Giant is doing his best Randy Savage impersonation, trying to snap into some Jeff Jarrett, if you know what I mean. That's when all of a sudden Jeff Jarrett is up against the post. He ends up posting himself, but he's able to apply the figure four outside the ring. The Giant powers out, but just as he's reaching across the ring and grabbing, he just reaches across and grabs him. Flair comes around and blows the Giant. And that's when Nick Patrick calls for the bell. A whopping 4 seconds later, the Horsemen hit the ring, ready for war. The Giant wins via disqualification, obviously. During the replay, Heenan says that the low blow was an elbow twitch, and I laughed. I gave it 3 1/4. I did not see this finish coming. Honestly thought Jarrett was just losing tonight, but they're going to keep the story going, and that's totally fine with me. This match was still fun. It did start slow, but picked up and kind of got heat during the Jarrett comeback. Flair is fucking great. His presence made this match feel bigger and more important, in my opinion. DiBiase is back in the crowd like a fucking host of the game show or something, and says that the NWO will take a win any way that they can get it. He calls Jericho a great young athlete, but he's in the right place at the wrong time. Six agrees that Jericho is a young, great athlete, but tonight he's going to pay for the sins of WCW, and he says that the Cruiserweight will come to the NWO in due time. The Cruiserweight title, that is. Six versus Chris Jericho. They exchange suplexes to start out. Both men are showing off their speed as they're dodging each other's moves. Then we see Kevin Sullivan and Conan hanging out in the crowd, just kind of watching the show. You can get a bunch of arm drags by Jericho as he lands a couple of chops to Six and then lands a splash. Jericho climbs the turnbuckle like he's going for a moonsault. That's when Six kicks him off and sends him crashing to the floor and falls up with a senton to the outside. Jericho rolls in and Six stomps him out. Six lands a flurry of kicks in the corner and snaps on a chinlock. Jericho gets laid out on the apron, and Six comes off the top rope with an elbow drop. Jericho fires up and goes on the offensive, hitting a back elbow off the top rope. Six catches Jericho with snake eyes and goes for a crossbody off the top rope, but Jericho sees him coming and drop kicks him in midair. Jericho hits the lion salt and has a cradle pin, but Nick Patrick's count is so damn slow, he barely gets the fucking one. Even the crowd is thinking this is bullshit. Again, Patrick screws Jericho, but Six hits a spin kick, and Patrick counts faster than a toddler playing hide and fucking seek. I gave it a 3 as the match itself was fun. It started to drag, but then it picked up. That seems to be a theme in WCW. Jericho's comeback is always the leading point. The comeback is always the leading point. Nick Patrick did hinder the score a bit. He's definitely Geek of the Week every motherfucking week. Mike Tenay is in the back with Lex Luger, and Lex looks like he got a blowout or something because his hair is on it's on another level, like some 80s gym teacher status, you know what I'm saying?
Boy, you know, with that hairstyle, he reminds me of a very famous person, a movie star.
Let me guess, Brad Pitt.
No.
Fabio.
No.
Well, who?
Kind of like Phyllis Diller.
Luger says that Arn did this, and that you threw down the gauntlet, and you're going to face a totally different package. I'm going to beat you, I'm going to rack you, and most importantly, I'm going to take you out. Luger has not only grabbed my attention, but he grabbed Heenan's too. Lex Luger and Arn Anderson. The commentators are speculating, is Sting in the building tonight? And if he is, whose side is he on, WCW or NWO? Arn is all over Luger to start out, as he's throwing him into the corner a couple of times, and he says, oh, he's not so bad. That's when Luger fires up, shows Arn that he is that bad, sends Arn to the outside of the ring with a clothesline, picks Arn up and slams him low back first into the post. Power slam by Luger. That's when we see the Dungeon of Doom cheering Luger on. Luger continues the assault on the low back by sitting on it while Arn is in the ropes. Arn lands a back elbow and goes for a high-risk maneuver, but Luger shuts it down, lands more shots to the back. Arn sees an opening as Luger comes off the top rope, hits a giant spine buster, then shoves Luger to the outside of the ring. Arn uses the post and the guardrails to work over Luger's back. The onslaught of Luger's back continues as he applies an abdominal stretch. Arn fires up and goes for the DDT. That's when Luger hangs on to the ropes. Arn slips off and takes a bump. Luger almost runs into the ref. Arn sees this, ensures that he does run into the ref by shoving him. That's when the ref crashes into the turnbuckle. Arn takes advantage of the ref being out by grabbing a chair and swinging the shit out of it, but Luger ducks, and it hits the post. Luger then slingshots Arn into the post, hits a suplex, grabs the chair, starts to wear out Arn Anderson. Luger rolls him into the ring, starts calling for the rack. Then, of course, he racks him, and it is over. I gave it a 3. It was pretty fun. Felt like something straight out of the 80s. Luger said he was going to take Arn Anderson out, and he racked him for like 30 seconds. I think Arn is going to be done for a bit. Jeff Jarrett and Ric Flair come to check on Arn. Arn keeps yelling to the trainer, "My back!" And then that's when Arn is stretchered out of the ring. Lee Marshall says that if you want to know what's going on with Sting, you got to call the WCW hotline. And Harlem Heat then joins Marshall. Colonel Parker says that the NWO needs some ripper mending, and tonight they're going to get it by the hands of the Harlem Heat. WCW can be proud tonight because they are riding on the coattails of the greatest tag team in the world. Booker says they're going to jump the outsiders in Harlem Heat style. But first, we get Faces of Fear versus the Horsemen, Chris Benoit and Steve Mongo McMichael. Shivani talks about how Mongo made the smooth transition from football to wrestling, and it's all thanks to the Halliburton, a.k.a. the briefcase, which says that the money is out of it, but it's still loaded. So Mongo and Ming are in the ring, and Mongo tries to bull rush Ming, and and Ming won't go down, so he gets mad, gets in a 3-point stance, and hits a shoving tackle that sends Ming flying, and that's probably the first time I've ever really seen that. Barbarian and Benoit are in the ring, and Barbarian gets a flurry of shots in before Benoit responds with the suplex, and it goes back with Ming and Mongo, and Mongo threatens his tackle by going into his 3-point stance. Ming responds by getting into a sumo stance, and Mongo follows up, and they have a cool little sumo battle, but he gets fucking pass blocked all the way to the corner. I'm like, bro, as a defensive tackle, you should know how to break that shit. So I'm like, dude, Ming should have absolutely been a guard with such great pass blocking ability. Mongo gets mad, comes back with a couple of chop blocks, even one on Barbarian. Ming shuts it down by kicking him in the face. Benoit comes in, chopping Ming, and Ming barely sells it. Barbarian tags himself in, and that's when Ming sends Benoit into the ropes and tosses him right into the arms of Barbarian, where he power bombs him straight to fucking hell. Ming is choking Benoit. Refs count to 4, and then waits 2 seconds before fucking pulling Ming off, and I'm like, yes, he let Ming cheat. The ref is obviously scared for his life as he sees these fucking monsters in there, and who can blame him? Barbarian with the top rope belly-to-belly suplex, and Benoit flew the length of the ring, and I screamed in absolute horror. Faces of the Fear hit a double diving headbutt, but Mongo breaks up the pin. Barbarian hits a suplex, and Ming, within a millisecond, lands a top rope splash. Mongo grabs a briefcase as the women have the ref distracted. Mongo clobbers Ming, which allows Benoit to hit the driving headbutt and get the win. The Dungeon of Doom end up hitting the ring, and it looks like they're going to try to take woman. Benoit somehow is in the ring getting beaten up by everyone. And then that's when Ming kills him with a thrust kick. Sullivan is beating Mongo senseless with a briefcase. They have legit stomped Benoit out and then punts him in the face to add insult to injury the whole time while Sullivan is saying, he's like, if you think he's the man, he's not the man. This is the start of Kevin Sullivan writing his own breakup, but in real life. That's right. This led to the breakup of Kevin Sullivan and woman, a.k.a. Nancy Benoit. When you drive your women into the arms of another man. Pro wrestling come to life, baby. 3.5. Great match. Mongo is normally a sore spot. Not tonight. He did good in all of his spots he was in. He even ran the ropes better. What a fucking concept. Benoit got the crap beat out of him. It's totally fine. Not the only match that's ever happened in. But it's still fine. And Ming and Barbarian are never bad to watch. And I mean that because in that fucking regular episode of Retro Rewind 59, they had a match against the Fantastics. And it was still pretty good. WCW World Tag Team Championship match. Harlem Heat versus the Outsiders. And just before the match starts, there seems to be a fight in the crowd because almost everyone's attention is not on the ring. Hall gains the advantage, but Booker is able to catch his arm and apply an arm lock. That's when they both try a hip toss, but Hall ends up going over the ropes where Stevie Ray is ready to deliver a clothesline. Stevie and Nash are in the ring, and Nash is landing big shots in the corner. Stevie Ray uses a back elbow and a big clothesline to knock down the big man. Then he turns to Hall, spits in his face. Booker uses a scissor kick, but Nash powers out of the cover. Nash hits a sidewalk slam. Hall comes in and hits a second rope bulldog on Stevie. Then Booker comes in when he bounces off the ropes. Nash clubbers him with a forearm, and Hall takes him down for a near fall. The ref got to 3, but Booker kicked out. Hall choke slammed. Hall hits a choke slam on Booker, but then Stevie breaks it up. That's when the ref counts to pretty much 1. Hall catches Booker as he tries for a crossbody, hits a sidewalk slam. Sherry jumps on the apron, and Hall is not distracted in the least, yet he's rather intrigued. Sherry slaps him. Apparently this is something he likes because he decides that he's going to wet his whistle and kiss this poor woman. Because of that, we get this great soundbite from Dusty.
He kissed her! He's slumping spit with Sherry right here in the damn desert!
In the damn desert. God, I fucking Dusty kills me sometimes, okay? Dusty is quite possibly one of the best, if not the best damn commentator ever. Anyway, Booker hits the spin kick. Now both men are down. Hall is able to get a sleeper applied, but Booker reverses it and applies one to Hall. Hall is big and strong, so he lifts Booker up, crotches him on the ropes, and only after it pretty much just gets him a near fall. Both men are running the ropes. They collide. Booker is the first to make the tag. Nash gets in the ring anyway. Stevie doesn't care. He takes them both on. Stevie presses Hall and throws him into Nash. That's when they hit the Harlem Hangover, but Nash gets into the in the corner. Colonel Parker wants to stop Nash, but he gets scared and hands Nash his cane. That's when he hits Stevie with it.
I'm going to tell you what, guys, you're nuts if you don't think that hurts.
Boy, you're not kidding.
And Hall covers Stevie for the 1, 2, 3, and Booker T is just baffled that he couldn't make the save. I gave it 3 3/4. I really liked this match. I think it could have been a 4 if the ending did not involve Colonel Parker kind of being like scared shitless, but all in all, it was still fun to watch. A fun fact, if you're watching along during the replay, it looks like Colonel Parker is trying to hide the cane up his ass. I'm sure Nash would have, seen them sticking out and would have yanked it out anyway. Just saying. World War III promo, 3 rings, 60-man match. And then that's when we see Hulk Hogan in the crowd with his dumb spiky-ass hair. And he plugs his crappy movie, or crappy movies, because there's multiple out. And he says he's back to body slam a long-lost sick puppy named Macho Man. And that's when we get the main event, which is the NWO, or if you will, the WCW. I will call it the NWO World Championship match. Randy Savage versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Michael Buffer, obviously the ring announcer, for every fucking WCW title match. He gives out the infamous line and the whole everything. So they actually start playing Macho Man's music, but apparently fucking Buffer is not done introducing Hogan, so they cut it off so they can drag on about Hogan. Savage comes out, and he goes over to the side of the entrance, and he's waving something over, and all of a sudden, it's his monster truck that comes out. And so I'm like, hey, this is that monster truck that a fan apparently won earlier. The fan, I guess, decided to agree to this vehicular manslaughter, do the favor for Savage, as he says. Then Savage with this great line about his fucking goon friends. Oh, God, this is great.
Get your 2 goons, stooges, and bag carriers out of here so I can kick your ass.
Macho at his finest. Anyway, the ref tells Hogan that the Giant has to go. Hogan is doing all that he can to stall for time. He's in and out of the ring, not to mention the guy's wrestling in his fucking sunglasses. Shivani announces that the Slim Jim truck was given to a fan was actually a street-legal version and not this giant monster truck, so this giant monster truck is probably coming out of Savage's pocket. Hogan gets a couple of moves in before Macho does anything, and then he goes running. There's a lot more stalling. It felt like they stalled for like 10 minutes, and I'm not kidding. Hogan finally goes on the offensive. Savage finally makes a comeback and hits a top rope double axe handle. Then he steals Hogan's glasses, and now Hogan is begging off. And holy shit, Savage hit Hogan so hard his fucking hair flew off. Savage is wearing this weird spiky-haired wig that I did not know was a wig, and he's just chasing Hogan down the runway. Makes him eat this hair piece and feeds right hands as they're on their way back towards the ring. Savage lands a chair shot flush to the face of Hogan. He tries for another, but the ref takes the chair away. Hogan grabs said same chair, lands a couple of chair shots while DiBiase has the ref distracted. Hogan crotches Savage on the guardrail as we see a fan trying to give Hogan some money. Then we cut to Elizabeth's as she heads toward the ring, and she looks like she's dressed to be in the Savage corner in her whole giant gown thing that you would recognize from the WWF days. There's a near fall off of a roll-up by Savage, and that's when we see Savage try to grab Hogan, and he ends up pretty much just like grabbing his tights and showing off Hogan's ass to the crowd, which is not the first time this is going to happen. Clothesline sends Hogan outside of the ring. Savage gives chase, but of course Hogan tries to use Elizabeth as a shield, but gives that up as they end up back in the ring. They end up outside again. It's the same story. This time Hogan throws Elizabeth into Savage and lands a big shot. Back in the ring, Hogan goes for a leg drop. Elizabeth is confronting Savage. He convinces her to go into the corner, and he tries to leg drop again, but Savage rolls out of the way. Elizabeth blocks Hogan from getting a gimmick from DiBiase, and the ref gets bumped, and now Nick Patrick is out there along with all these others, and of course it's Nick fucking Patrick that slides into the ring to make the count. Of course he goes to count to 3, and his neck cramps up, so Savage hits him, and Hogan goes for the gimmick. Savage blocks the shot, takes the gimmick, lands a shot. DiBiase stops Savage from hitting the elbow drop. That's when the Giant comes out, choke slams Savage on the floor, and then throws him into the ring. Giant rolls Savage into place. Hogan covers him. Nick Patrick slides in like the weirdos into all you ladies' DMs and counts the 1, 2, 3s like it's fucking going out of style. And fuck Nick Patrick, okay? Just fuck Nick Patrick, dude. I give this match a 3.5. I've seen one. Actually, you know what? I have not seen the Mega Powers collide. You know, the whole Hogan and Savage from WWF. So this is probably like my first real Hogan Savage match, and I really enjoyed it. Again, 3.5. In no way was this match bad. It was a little overdrawn. The story, a little overdrawn on the story here. The action was fine. It was definitely entertaining. Nick Patrick, as stated earlier, is Geek of the Century. The Giant has a giant bowl of ice water, and he spills most of it as he's trying to come into the ring, and then he pours whatever he's got left on Hogan, and then he springs to life. And Hogan grabs the mic and says that he's the real king of Hollywood. And that's when we hear these lovely bagpipes. And for you wrestling fans, you guys only know that bagpipes in pro wrestling means one guy, and it's absolutely right. It's fucking Hot damn Roddy Piper's in the building. Hogan is absolutely beside himself. He has legit seen a ghost. Shivani calls him a chicken for hiding behind the Giant. Roddy grabs the mic and says, "Are you bored yet?" He's like, "Bored, are you? I've come here to break your monotony." He says, and then tells the Giant to go to the back where his beanstalk is. He calls him Sprout the whole fucking night too, which is also hilarious. Roddy tells him to shut up because it's his turn. Hogan tells him to be careful, and Roddy says sarcastically, "Yeah, I made a lot of money watching what I say." Roddy says, "Reality check. I'm just as big as a wrestling icon as you are. I'm just as big of a movie star as you are too." He talks about his past and how he started as a pro at 15 and has had over 6,000 pro matches. He's even been stabbed 3 times. Roddy says back during WrestleMania, they wouldn't have hated me so much if they weren't too busy cheering you. You know that wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have been able to beat me. Now shake my hand and admit that you didn't bring all these people here. All these people brought you here. Hogan goes on to admit that Roddy is just as big of a superstar as he is. Roddy tells him to straighten up, and he tells him to squat when he uses the restroom. That's what Hogan tells Roddy. And Hogan cuts off Roddy and says that maybe they should have the war to settle the score, and Roddy tells him, "I'm the reason you got no hair." They cut the show as Roddy is ripping Hogan a new one about the Elizabeth Act, and that's how it goes off the air. I said, well, pay-per-views are supposed to be good, and this one hit on all cylinders. The opener was hot, and the show at no point ever really slowed down. It didn't exactly top the opener, but nothing about this show was boring. It did have its dragging points, but again, this is 1996. We're going to have some issues. All in all, damn good show. 2 thumbs, way up. Match of the night obviously goes to the Cruiserweight title match. Malenko and Mysterio kill it. Malenko is Wrestler of the Week due to his great performance. There is no voting. I don't do votes on the pay-per-views, only on Raw and Nitros. I hope you guys understand that one. So that is it for me, folks. I hope you're following on Smart Mark Radio, Podcast Network, everywhere you can. Smart Podnet, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And, of course, make sure you are sharing this with all your favorite friends, all your wrestling friends, all the guys that are closet wrestling fans, if you will, and let them know that this is a place for wrestling fans to be welcome. We relive the Attitude Era here. Some call it the best time in pro wrestling. So make sure you're sharing this. Make sure you're subscribed, listening on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube Music, and everywhere else that you can find this. Again, like I stated earlier, get this one in episode 1 that went out on your double episode Monday. Get them to 50 listens, and Wednesday you will get a 3rd edition of Retro Rewind, episode 60 of Retro Rewind, which will be the fallout from this Halloween Havoc. So that's it. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all. Remember, Malenko killed it. Wrestler of the week. He gets his music played. Catch y'all around the band. Enjoy your Monday. 50 is the number we need to hit. And maybe, just maybe, I'll catch y'all Wednesday. Peace out. SMR Podcast Network.